Welcome to today's episode of Behind the Signs. Today, we have the exciting pleasure to be talking to Wendy Graves of InSignia Signs, Women in Signs, etc., and heavily involved in ISA. So all the stuff. She is a powerhouse in the sign industry and doing a lot in the space of being a voice for women in the industry. So I am so thrilled, Wendy, to have you here and to learn a little bit about your business and all your involvement in the industry. So welcome and thank you for taking a slice out of your hugely busy schedule to spend some time with us.
Thanks so much, Joe. I really appreciate anything for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, if at first, let's talk about your sign shop, because obviously you're a successful sign shop owner. You've been in the industry for a while. Tell us about that, how long you've been in the industry and why you decided to go the wholesale route.
Yeah. So my background, actually, I was in X-ray tech. Can you imagine that, Joe?
That's a big leap.
Yeah, all bones, right? And so now I just do bones of signage. But in 2013, my husband purchased a sign franchise. And so, of course, I joined that, doing a lot of sales and marketing. And then in 2020, we decided to launch the wholesale side, being able to support some small to mid-size sign companies that were not manufacturing. And that has been really beneficial because with COVID, of course, people were looking to sell things that maybe they hadn't been before. So I kind of jumped out there with InSignia Wholesale and started doing some training, how to sell lit signage, cabinets, dimensional letters, and did some training. And that's taken off pretty well. I do focus a lot in the Midwest, just trying to keep that range because I am located in Louisville, Kentucky. And we've been doing that for about 2.5, almost 3 years of running the wholesale side. And I do find a lot of joy because I like to help people possibly, solve problems that otherwise they're not used to doing.
Yeah. And I am, like I said earlier, I'm such a huge believer in wholesale relationships for sign shops because it's a great way to expand the business without having to have a bigger shop, more equipment, and it gives them an opportunity to offer more products to their customers in a way that's way easier than trying to do it themselves. So if I'm a small sign shop and I'm, wanting to sell a set of channelers, for example, or a lit cabinet, and how does it work? And I'm in your region, and so I want to work with you guys on doing something. So how do they contact you, send files or get quotes, or how does all that work with your company?
Yeah, so what I found pretty quick was that a lot of people who are not familiar don't even know what the artwork looks like or needs to look like for correct pricing. So I do offer some training on the front end with either some of the project managers or the sales team, or even I've been a part of like design, because if I'm not getting everything sized correctly, if it doesn't have all the dimensions, then the chances of them overpaying for a product might be pretty high. And so we really spend a little bit of time saying, hey, this is what your artwork needs to look like, and these are the files that need to come across, so that I can shoot you back a really quick quote. And probably a little unconventional in the aspect that I don't spend a lot of time sending in-depth quotes. I send a very quick email that basically this is the price, recap what they're asking for, and then I leave it to them to do what they do best, which is hopefully close that deal. Right. Once I know, that they have closed the deal and they want to use me, then of course, then I send them the official and we go from there. But some of the time is really spent training on the front end if their team is unfamiliar. So.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And you obviously have such a passion for elevating the industry through education. So you're doing a lot of stuff. Well, that's great. So once they sell the deal, do they send you the final cleaned up artwork and a deposit? And is that how all that works?
Yeah. So then they just forward me the signed off artwork. We do some production artwork on the back end that we do also get them to review. And a lot of that is just, again, I really have found that there's an assumption, and I'm only, we're celebrating 10 years in July, and my husband has been in signs for over 20 years. Wow. So I'm a newbie, I feel like, but I realize that a lot of people just don't understand that aluminum only comes in so many links and so many LEDs. And so I do spend a lot of time making sure that the product they're going to get back from me, if there's going to be a seam, they see that it's going to be a seam in their cabinet. They may not know. So once I've sent that back and get the approval and they've paid the deposit, it goes into production. And then of course, turn times and things like that. And then I used to ship a lot of products, but honestly, here in the last probably 6 to 8 months, I've been trying to use direct courier because the products just are not arriving safely because no one cares about the sign as much as we care about the sign.
Right.
And so I have developed some really nice relationships in the Midwest that are usually doing pretty steadily a couple of jobs at a time. And then we just get them done, courier them to them, and then they take it from there. So
That's great.
Beginning to end.
That's great. And that probably requires a lot less crating and a much greater assurance that the sign's going to get there on time. That's good. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, and obviously we will put in the notes how people can get a hold of you and start working with you, and then you can establish relationships with them beyond that. But now let's talk about, because I've been on Women in the Signs, et cetera. I've watched some of your podcasts, which by the way, you're way better at it than I am. You good. But anyway, it's such a passion project for you. And, tell us all about how this started and what kind of prompted you to start Women in the Signs. I know you're on Facebook and LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my husband, he would probably say, yes, you're correct, but it's annoying. I'm kind of a dreamer. I get bored really easy. I have developed this like 4 or 5 year itch where I get bored and I have to do something. And when we started the wholesale side, I was dealing with a lot of females, which was wonderful because, I hadn't really experienced that. And so one night I was bored and I was looking on Google, literally, I said women in signs, and a few things popped up, but it was just articles. And then I went on Facebook and I was shocked. I'm like, there's not a women in signs group. This is insane.
Yeah.
So then I went on LinkedIn, I kind of was searching. I did come across Women Leading Industry, which is supported with, ISA. Mm-hmm. And that was great, but that was a one-time event. So I just said, I'm starting it. And of course, here we are, right? And so I just started it with a Facebook group, and I sent out to just a few sign people that I knew. And then just kind of, just starting to reach out to vendors and different relationships that I had made. If I was talking to a sub and that was a lady, I would invite them. And then it just has kind of grown organically. I have said multiple times, there's definitely, there's the other groups, the other sign groups. And, you obviously have a group also on Facebook. And this has never been a personal, attack against men, or we're not bashing men. It's just that we experience things differently. Mm-hmm. We learn differently. We have sometimes more hats, and we just come at things at a little different approach. And so I just wanted it to be a space where women could feel comfortable asking things and not feel that they would be insulted or, looked down upon. And then, with my husband owning a franchise, we're extremely blessed. I mean, if you're in a franchise, you have a lot of support. You have mm-hmm. Facebook groups, and ours is wonderful. But I noticed I was dealing with a lot of independent sign companies, and some of these were small women-owned companies. And they said, like, sometimes I feel alone and by myself because I don't know what to do. And they're not going to call down the street, to a local competitor. So it just kind of started that way, and it's grown. And I think we hit, it's all organic. I was not allowed actually to post on one of the larger general Facebook group. I asked for permission and they said no, that they did not want to encourage division. And so we've just grown organically with invites and other ways. And we just celebrated 900 women. So owners, team members, vendors, anyone that's a lady in the signage industry, we welcome them.
Well, good. Well, 901, because my daughter joined today. So.
I think we're at 906. I just let her in.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I think it's great what you're doing there. And the content is solid, and your interviews with different authors and sign shop owners, it's super helpful. So thanks for doing that. And especially, like I said, a guy that has 3 daughters, I'm glad my daughter has the support. So, Well, and however, will talk about women in signs on Behind the Signs. So we will make sure we really push that. So lastly, before we let you go, because I don't know where you squeeze in sleep, but I see that you're really active on this upcoming ISA show. So it looks like you're participating in talks and workshops and different things. So tell us about your involvement with ISA and how people can find you at the show and participate in what you're doing there.
Yeah, so because of the women in signs, etc., and to your point, you're finding this out. I'm really alert to what's going on around me and interesting people that I might meet, and that's where the podcast came from. And I had reached out to Sam Armstrong, and she is owner of Make It Happen consultancy in the UK. And I just found her super intriguing. And so we did a podcast interview, and it was wonderful. And she runs a sign school. And after the podcast, we talked, offline. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing if you could come to the US and if this ever took off? And so a few months later, she reached back out and said, hey, I think I'm coming to the US. And so we started talking. And because myself and another person, Mike, had really supported her and encouraged this adventure, we are a part of it. So we're basically helping her transition her UK verbiage, sign industry knowledge, things like that maybe don't translate, but translate into just different terms. We're supporting her. So we will be at the pre-show. She's doing a full day signage boot camp. And what that is for project managers, it's for salespeople, general managers, owners. If you're new to the industry, that's kind of the makeup of that audience. And it's a full day, just basically learning everything about signs. And so Mike and I will be supporting her. And then she has 2 other days that are just half days. And they're focused on sales and some other sustainabilities. And so we're really excited because I think it's something that is going to be a huge success at the ISA. And I think it's going to get a lot of buzz afterwards. And I'm really fortunate to be a part of it. She's amazing. And now I'm getting all kinds of UK friends. So this is a win-win for me.
That's great. That's great. Well, she's fortunate to have you. That's for sure. And we'll make sure we put all this in the notes so people know where to find you at ISA. So, and I'm going to be an ISA too. I applied with ISA to be an influencer, I guess. So it's like, I think it's the gray beard that did it. But anyway, I got accepted. So they're actually helping pay my way a bit. And I have to go there a day early for some training and all that. So I'm really excited about that. I've never had the opportunity to do that. So it'll be fun. But okay. And I'm looking forward. We're going to have to hunt each other down and have a cup of coffee at ISA. So in parting, you've been amazing, by the way. What, for a young woman that's in the industry or just starting out in the industry, what would be Wendy's words of wisdom to that young person?
Words of wisdom. Well, I would definitely say don't hold back. I do think that this podcast and the group has really helped me understand that no one knows everything in signs because it's always changing and it's always evolving. So don't ever feel like you're inferior. Learn and put yourself in opportunities to grow. Go do the hands-on work, help the people in the different departments so that you really can grow. But know that at any level, brand new to 30, 40 years in, you always have an opportunity to share and encourage the next person, male or female, because what you bring is different than the next person. So just don't ever make yourself small because you have a big mark to make.
Perfect. I love it. Well, Wendy, we are so appreciative. We know you're super, super busy. So thank you so much for joining us today on Behind the Signs. It was great chatting with you, and good luck with all the endeavors. And when you get that 5-year itch, just stay in the sign business. Don't leave us. We need you.
Itch near an ocean. Can we make that happen? I'm in the
Sure. All right. Well, Wendy, thanks a bunch again, and we will catch up at ISA and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Take care. Bye.
If you are interested in being featured on Behind the Signs, we would love to connect with you and hear about the unique ways you are working in the sign industry. Please reach out to us on our Facebook group Behind the Signs and send us a direct message.